Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. We're going to paint, I promised you we'd go through that list of which one you have. We have a wildlife landscape. And it's been a while since I've done a big hawk. This is a big, massive Ferganus hawk. These are found out here in Nebraska where I am, basically all throughout the central part of the United States and up into western Canada. And they're a beautiful hawk. As a matter of fact, I saw one this morning out on my walk. There's a mated pair that where I walk my dogs every time out in the prairie grass. There's a mated pair in a tree up there, and so it's nice to see them return. I saw them a couple years ago, and they've returned. But anyway, so what I have here, this is a hawk, and you can see some back up there. You can see the full size of them. Now, what I do is, I explained this to you guys in the past, is I bought that hawk picture from Adobe Stock. And then I got this landscape with some hills and some grasses and stuff, also from Adobe Stock. And then I just meld the two together. And, and I'm just going to use it for inspiration. As a matter of fact, the hawk that you see there, he's looking the other way. And I drew him looking this way at us. I figured I want this movement, this triangular movement here to come down, to be taking you down this way along with his movement. But I want him to subtly stop you here. And then I raised up the size of this hill back here to help you pull back this way a little bit as well. And the light is I'm gonna bring the light in this way here, so that's why I put a little extra shadow right here. Penciled that in underneath his beak, and I'll put some down here underneath the wing like you see on that photo back there behind me. So it ought to be kind of fun. Okay, so I'm going to be using the palette wise. This is the colors that I use. This is the listing of it, Dave's favorites. This is going to be listed in the description of the video here for you. Okay, and I do like some of those clouds and stuff in there, back up in here, and so I might add some of those along the way here. We'll see. We'll get into this and then we'll see. I might, I just might. I like this line, but let's bring this up maybe a little higher, a little more interest up here. So that contains him a little better up onto this side, drops that down. So a little bit higher. Now, I took a photo of this, which I just changed, but I took a photo of this, and for those of you that are subscribed to the channel, I'll put the photo of the drawing that I did here into the community page so you can find it. So let's get some of that blue out, blue, violet. Let's take some Phthalo Blue, some of our Quinacridone, because I use the Quinacridone. It's not quite as powerful as the red violet. And then let's get some white in here. Now, I'm going to build a medium value sky, and I'm going to do a lot of clouds and stuff into the sky, especially along the horizon line of the mountains. So what I want to do is just kind of find that nice blue up there of that sky, maybe a little bit lighter here. So I'm just going to make up some of this. I'm going to make up quite a bit. You see me, normally I don't mix it up with my knife, but I'm going to do it this time. Now, also those of you that are, more beginners, watch our other channel, the Painted Simply channel. I uploaded a really fun one, painting completely with acrylics, and so you should be able to go over there and watch that one. And I'm teaching you from the very basics, the beginning of everything. And I'm going to take a little bit of extender here. I'm going to add a little bit of extender into this, mix this up into this as well, just so it slides along the surface, keeps it nice and wet. So for our surface that I have here, this is a wood panel, 1/4 inch wood panel. It is 30 inches this way, 20 inches this way, and I kept him just a couple inches down, about 3 inches down, about an inch up here from the bottom up here. And I gave 2 coats of the canvas prep medium, which I really like, and then sanded it with 180 grit sandpaper. I like, anytime I'm going to really do a lot of detail, I do like painting on wood panels. And that comes all the way back from my Dutch training, the years I painted on the Dutch, because before they did stretch canvases, they painted on oak panels, and it was really quite nice. So I enjoy that. But you could do this on a stretch canvas, but just make sure that you fill in the weave quite a bit, because we're going to have some detail up here in his face, and we don't want that to get lost and have to fight the weave. All right, so let's take a big brush. I'll put in a little bit of extender in it, and let's just get on this color. And I'm going to be painting today with a lot of paint, and because I want this to have power. I want this whole painting to have power. So I am going to be using a lot of paint. And so as you come up around your drawing here, just take him into the edges and stuff a little bit. And let's get that just a touch lighter right up in here. Just a touch. So, and I really want his head to come up here against it. So you almost consider this, or what we consider this, block painting. Just real thick paint here, and a little bit of extender. This is going to stay wet for, 15, 20 minutes easy. And because the more paint you put on the surface, the longer it stays wet. And that's what, some people always tell me, oh, my paint dries too fast. We have a tendency as acrylic artists to really thin out our paint. Let me push this back there a little bit, and I'll just wipe it back. See how you can see your drawing underneath it a little bit? That's going to help you get atmosphere to those back edges and stuff. So we want that. I might even want a little bit of atmosphere into him as well. Okay. Now, so I have that. And then we want some of these beautiful clouds and stuff. And the one thing I did not put out is some open medium. And this one is almost gone here. Not much left in it, but probably enough for this painting. Maybe another one after that. Let's put out some open medium here. Okay. Now this is thicker. Okay, and I've taught you all different kinds of ways to do clouds and stuff, but generally, when I'm working clouds and everything, I'll put the sky on a little thicker, and I put the thinner. The sky's a little thinner, so I use the extender, and then the clouds go in a little bit thicker. Now, I'm going to be looking, I see all those lovely shadows, so I want to take some burnt sienna, some of my sky color, maybe a little bit of blue. This will make beautiful shadowy cloud colors, the grays, the burnt sienna. Now, why burnt sienna? Because there's going to be so much in our hawk today. And this good harmony. One of the things I always think about, always in painting, is harmony. In getting my colors to be harmonious with each other. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of open medium to this. And I'm going to so I'm not going to be with my clouds here. I'm not going to be as blue as you see in some of those other, like the reference photos and stuff. Maybe a little bit more blue, but I don't want to be quite as blue. I want to be a little bit more brown, because that is the color of our hawk. And so I want to just push some of this color casually like this up into and you've seen me do this a lot. So, and I'll push some of this, and some of you are thinking, David, you've lost your mind. No, I haven't. Just bear with me on this. Now let's just pull this through and into some of this area here. So see, that's nice and thick color. See, that gives me some of my movement that I want to have here, and it's thicker, so it's going to stick a little bit more here. I want to have a bit of that dark right up here by him. Now I'm going to paint the clouds a couple times, so we're just getting some of the nice movement of those clouds in. Now let's take a little bit of that up through here, maybe a bit So I want to leave some of the blue sky. I want some of these clouds right around him, and then some of the blue sky, maybe some of it peeking up back out through there. Now, let's take a paper towel into a bit of our gray. Now we're going to lighten it up. Not pure white. Don't use pure white. Get this down about around a value, maybe a little bit of blue in it, nice gray, but vary this. Sometimes with this I'll put a little yellow into this, really kind of pretty, these pretty grays here. Lighten this up about a 7 to an 8, more like an 8 really, okay? And let's come in and we're going to whisper some of this into here. I'm just using my knife here. And I'm using the knife, and I want this open medium in there. I'm using my knife so I get highs and lows. Thick, see, this is what I'm looking for. Thick and thin, highs and lows, what I call this into the painting here. Okay, well, and you can, if you get too much, because that's really thick, if you get too much, remember, water is your solvent. And you can just take water, run it around any part of him here so you can preserve some of your drawing, so I don't have to do it again. But I want to maybe pull some of that down into him a bit there, okay? But it gives you a good feeling of how much he's going to pop forward here. And I want to just push some of this cloud in through here. Some of this in through here, just some of these highs and lows. Then I'm going to take my brush, even with a little bit of the blue in it, and you can add a little extender into it. If your brush feels a little stiff, sometimes after working through there, be a little stiff. You don't want it to be too stiff. You want it to loosen up a bit. So just add a little extender and just pull through. See how that softens some of that out. Soften some of these nice cloud movements here. Right out, more of a natural feel to those clouds right there, and it puts in a bit of that grayness there. That's pretty good. Yeah, just don't lose that edge there. Let's grab some of this and push that. Now over here, I might want to build up an edge of the cloud that is going to go up against blue sky. But back here, it's going to go mostly against him, and then we'll run it right down into those mountains there. A little bit of the excess here, a little extra. See these little bits, don't? And see what I've got is real thick paint right there. Cause see, we're going to go lighter. This is real thick paint, and it'll just soften out a bit here. There we go. Pull that right into him there just a bit. So now we've got that low color, and we have that that real nice medium tone of the clouds. You can come back, and I always like to come back and restate maybe a little bit of this with a little blue and a little bit of the grays. Restate some of your shadows, like to low parts of a cloud or something here. Okay, maybe a shadow underneath a cloud here, and just pull through. We want these to be kind of soft, a little bit wispy there. See that shadow just pops that out. Maybe we want to, whoops, I hit some of that violet. That's okay, that'll be pretty in there. And we'll get just a bit of that violet blue in there. That's kind of pretty there. And a mark or two. And you know, a good impressionist will pull some of these some different ways to get some of the movement of the clouds here. Yeah, that's kind of pretty. Get a little difference. That violet is kind of pretty. Let's push some right up in there and just pull that through. See, it just breaks up some of that light. Now we come to the fun part. The light. Now the light we can put on with our knife, or we can go to one of my favorite brushes, because sometimes, you know, when you're painting clouds, I love to paint the clouds with a knife. It's one of my favorite tools. But sometimes it's nice to get a difference, a variation of both the knife and the brush. So let's try that. Let's go over here. Now, when I do this, I want to add just a bit of yellow, so I'm going to pull my whites down, a little bit of yellow, because I'm a big believer in the Dutch philosophy as it gets lighter, it gets warmer. So so I'm not down to pure white. You can see the difference here, right? And let's come up and let's just X marks the spot here. Push some of this, just whisper some of this through here. Okay. And we'll start building some clouds here. And this is where I like to touch them, move some, whisper through some of those edges. So I like here, I'm going to build this up. Okay. We're going to build up the edge. I like it a little chunky, and I don't like using different corners of the brush here and just kind of hitting the edge here. I don't want to do too round and puffy ones, but just some nice variation here. Let's build this light just a bit, maybe right back behind his head. Let some of that go back here. Some of that go right off the edge here. And it just makes different variations of those clouds. See, we're going to add some hills back here, but and sometimes pull down at angles and create that traveling mist of the clouds, And let's get a little yellow here. Okay, maybe another build up right here. You could use your knife. Now let me show you the knife too, because the knife is really nice. So I'll take this, build like this, and I'll strike some of this color. See, the knife gives you more of these highs and lows, which gives you the kind of the spottiness that you would see in a cloud. Then you take your bigger soft brush. Now the paint, this is the key. The blue is really thin. This other gray and stuff is getting back a little bit thicker. And here you can almost see it on the surface. It's thicker. Now remember, this is a little stiff here, so I want to loosen this up just a bit. Maybe wipe it with it. I don't want the brush to be stiff, so it pulls through. See? See how it pulls through here? And I can maybe build this edge up here. So I use that whisper of it, pull down slightly like that, and it just builds beautiful clouds that way. Let's build some additional light here. Thick paint right down. Maybe this is one right here, a little bit thicker area here. Just pull lightly through and pull in the direction you want the cloud, like maybe a little whispery down like that, okay? So you can build the clouds like that. And I'm going to leave some of that blue up there, maybe a little misty white, a little misty coming into some of that. And then you can go back with your smaller brush and, and sometimes it might be too wet, so you have to wait a bit. But go back in and work some of those edges and stuff. I'm going to take a little bit of this violet and blue and gray here and just push in a little bit of shadow right in there. Purposely get that shadow that's going to sit back behind his head, the shadow of this cloud here right in there. And push a little warmer bit here, right up here. And again, if it moves too much on you, just give it a second. Go have a drink of coffee or something. Let it start to tack up a bit. And if it tacks up too much on you, remember the good rule of acrylics is you always have your water you can go to help really move it, because as your solvent, remember, and I showed you that. If you haven't seen that, go back over to the Paint It Simply channel, and I just show you that with my latest video over there, painting a little vase without any extenders or anything like that. So yeah, and it really works. Let's get a little lighter. Let's create some beautiful white. I'm just tapping this along in here and just creating some of that interest. Now see, you could get this really light edge here and really put out a powerful mark. And I may want to do that, but I'm not real sure yet how much I want to do that until I get some of this hawk on here. And you know, how much I want to, maybe a little bit here, a little more warm here. So you can see, just we'll build this one up a bit. Just layers, beautiful layers here. Few little marks, few little edges and stuff like that along the hills that are going to come here. We might want to go a little more misty light here, right up along those hills. And sometimes if I don't want to impart too much, I'll thin out my light and just kind of drag it over to create some additional just layers of those clouds. So, but you can see in the photo, there is I don't know if you can see that, there's just layers and layers of clouds, just like we get out here in Nebraska, out into the prairie, layers and layers of clouds here. And some of them are quite stormy as well. Let's just push a big edge right here. So here we go. A bit of that. Yeah, I like that right there. Let's push a little bit more right in there. Maybe a little bit crossing right up here. And see, I like that to drag it a bit. That's that original loose blue that helps that slide. And see, the cloud sticks because it's thicker, right? And let's just a bit of the misty here. That's just kind of pretty. Excuse me. Let's get a little bit more misty light here. And sometimes, you know, when I get a lot on, this is where I really, excuse me, really like to get some movement in here by just dragging. So all this color is really wet. And then I'll just drag some of that movement. Like, let's take just a bit of this and just drag that movement here. Just get such movement and power to these clouds. And I like that. And sometimes I'll just drag with my thumb like this. Sometimes I'll drag with the brush. But I like some of that movement. Now, I might come back and lighten some of this up. Like it might, you know, just like some of the Western painters, right up against their subject, let's get a little warmth. They really like to have, just, and it doesn't have to be much, but a nice light little bit of the cloud right here. Right there. And let's pop that up a bit. Here we go, and see that cloud will be, and his head here will come right down there. Let's preserve just a bit of that drawing. I don't want to do too much because, I mean, I drew it. I can draw them again, but I just want to take some of the extra textures off of that. So I don't have to, you know, a textured edge is hard if I wanted to do a receding edge. So I'm going to pull this color down into him a little bit to help with the atmospherics of it. but I don't want to get texture right on his edge, if that makes sense. Because I don't want to fight that texture there. That's good. Okay. So yeah, that works out pretty good. Now, let's take some of this. Let's come back down in here with our blues. We'll add a little extender to this because I want this nut and some burnt sienna. I want this. Let's grab a little white and a little more burnt sienna. I'm going to make some of the back hill colors here, and I want it to vary through the violets. Oh, that's the other thing is I'm wearing my clip mic here today too because the wind is blowing anywhere from 40 to 70 miles an hour out there. And the last time I filmed under those conditions, you could hear the wind in the studio mics. So hopefully this sound will work. It'll be a little different that this sound will work, and you guys don't have to enjoy that storm at the same time back there. So let's push some of this edge right in there. I like that. But we'll vary the burnt sienna, and we'll vary the burnt sienna and the blue here as we start to pull down a little bit of these nice little hills and mountains there. We'll vary the color here. So see, it's a little bit bluer right here, and we'll vary the blue and the burnt sienna, and we'll get that nice variation, that interest there. Light is going to be coming through here, so you know, I'll change some of the source here a bit, but we want to get some highs and lows, some light and shadows like I like to do in these hills, right? Let's come back here. Let's just push that on. See, I love, and these are non-toxic. The Heritage are non-toxic. If you're painting in oils, don't do this. Use your brush. But I love the feel of that paint because I can feel it on the surface there. I love that. And so we'll just grab that a bit. See, I want to get all these variations in colors there. And let's get a little bit more light, burnt sienna and light, maybe a touch of yellow here. That's kind of a pretty tone. Pull in an angle this way of that hill. Let some of this cloudy gray stay in there. It almost looks like snow and stuff, but it's just going to do nice stuff for the back of our hill here. Let's put a little bit of that warmth right up here. Pull that into that. That's a color. See, you make pretty mountains by, see, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just pretty mountains to model them up. But you want some of the changes in the colors. That's the ticket to make pretty mountains. So, and I'm pulling that. I'm going to put a little more dark right here. And see, I push hard on the knife. I can deposit a little color. I can push back and forth like that to soften it slightly, and then pull it into the shape that I want. And then that creates the visual shapes or textures of the mountains and stuff here. Let's get a little more bluish, a little bit more atmospheric here with some of this, and pull some of this back here. And I just slide that along. See that sliding along? That's hitting highs and lows and thicknesses of the paint. And we'll just blur that edge a bit. Now, and you can also blur that edge with your brush. Okay? And let's push just a bit of the light, little clouds back there. Maybe another little hit of them right in there like that. Okay. Boy, that wind, whew, I don't know if you guys can hear it, but let's just soften that out here. There we we go. I love that highs and lows. That's what makes the clouds pretty, is they get those highs and lows. There we go. Just like that. That's good. And let's continue on with some of this atmospheric color back here. And see, so I'll push it on. Now, instead of using my hand this time, I'll show you. So you wipe your brush, stick way back, and just pull through. Stick way back. So for those of you that don't want to touch, or if you're sensitive to a lot of things, don't touch your paints. Never touch your paints, even though they're non-toxic. Don't touch them if you're sensitive to a lot of things. Just don't. Let's put a heavier mark. Going to need to get some more color up here. Let's get a little more blue and burnt sienna and blue and a little more white. I'm going to have to get more white, I know. And let's just look at these grays here. And let's see what those are. We want a little darker hill up here into the front, and then another little mountainous thing back there into the back here. There we go. And maybe more atmospheric, which means more blue and more white right into this color, and set up that more atmospheric one back here. White back there. Little hill or mountain back there. Maybe use your brush. And sometimes I'll let that blue from the sky sit in between just as mist and atmosphere and stuff between them. Let's put so light is coming this way, so shadow can hit that way. There. So I do like to push the shadows and stuff in from time to time, little marks of those. It just adds a bit of interest, a little more color into the front here. A little bit more there. And let's soften this exchange so you get a good feeling of depth between those two. There. There we go. Little hills back there. You could put more back there. It can be quite fun. You know, just little hill lines here. And see, it's more than anything else. It's just a model brush and angles. That's all you're doing, is these angles that are going to be suggestive of those hills. Does that make sense? Okay, so now as you come down into those hills that are up there, they get a little bit greenish. So let's just do a little bit of pine green, bit of burnt sienna, and let's get some green coming in there, just a bit. A little bit of the gray. Put in a nice little slope. Tap through this, you know, your knife. Your knife is one of my favorite ways to paint this stuff because it's so darn casual. And see, I can override some of those others and get highs and lows of those greens. And that just looks great. Let's get some of this green, some of this burnt sienna, and a little bit of blue. And just, you know, and that's where you get some of these like little lines of trees and stuff happening in here. Just tap that around a bit. You know, you don't need to get wild and crazy. Just tap it around a bit. Let's pull some of this green up and through here. Push that in. See, it just creates all of this lovely movement of the color. That's what I'm looking for. Maybe some of this green and mottled here, and you know, some of this dark here. It could emulate little stands of trees and stuff like that back there, you know. And just other little stuff going on. That's kind of neat. Let's take some of this and just pull down. So you pull down in a slightly different direction, see? And I'm creating another like little hill or little valley or something like that. And then sometimes I like to come through. Let's take a little green, a little yellow, maybe a little bit of this light. Let's put just a touch of burnt sienna in that as well. Dirty, a little warmer, lighter green. And just pull along like it's a highlight right up through there, see? And that just gets fun. And tap a little bit of it. Don't make it perfect. Just kind of tap along in there like, you know, there are little valleys, little edges. I mean, little things of light. Maybe there's a little bit of green going up a little valley right there, you know. And so, and I don't want to get too carried away, but boy, it's fun to do this kind of stuff. Create some highs and lows. See, you're creating different colors working through there. You can take a little bit of this light green, just a bit in your knife, and push it into here. And because it'll mix up with some of that atmospheric color, but you'll start to pick up just a hint of this color back here, which is neat. Here. See, just a hint of it, and it starts to look so great. And maybe a hint of it back up over here. And let's put a little bit of the light right back up here. Maybe pull it here. There, like that, see? And I really do like this up here, but it's a bit of a heavy mark, so I just might soften that just a bit, even though I liked it. That's better. You know, sometimes you just got to do that. Let's get back to some burnt sienna, some blue. If you notice, I mix a lot. I'm constantly mixing. I'm going to put a little open medium in this. And I constantly am mixing. And I want to create the line or some of the visual marks like little trees and stuff here. Just little horizontals here, because they have those. And, you know, with the photo there. And so just tap those on. You could use your little brush for this. You've seen me do that 1,000 times as well. I call, let's go, let me find the world's perfect brush here. My number 8 or a 10, and just kind of tap around a bit and just add some marks for some of that. But we don't want to play around here too much, because this isn't a painting of the landscape. Unless you want to, you can paint this hawk. You know, I mean, you don't have to paint the hawk. You can do this as a beautiful landscape. Maybe put a lake right back here. You know, that would be really nice as well. You know, all kinds of things you can do. I am going to play this blue and this light up here again, I think. Let me show you. So this starts, let me see how wet that is. It's starting to tack up a bit. It's still wet. So I'll take a little open medium. And let's go with some white, just a touch of yellow, but mostly white. And we can build up there. See how easy it is now to build up on that light? I can whisper that out. And see, just drag this out. And it looks so great, just dragging over some of that other color that was there. You can push and soften an edge. You know, there, but see how it just builds that little cloud edge up there. So let's build a little light right here. Push, soften, but see, and drag. Now that it's starting to tack up a bit, I can drag that really nice here. There we go. And see, this is how you build up even more cloud. Come back once it starts to tack up. That's the nice thing about, because, you know, one thing I didn't like in all the years I painted with oils is they could constantly move, and then I'd add light colors to them, and those light colors would start to just disappear after a bit, and I didn't like that. And so, Yeah, and when I do it with the acrylics, I just let them tack up a bit, and then I come back and build a little bit more. And I like that. Let's put a touch of a little bit of the light right back up over here. Build that one a bit. A little bit of yellow. See, and it's just kind of fun. So, you know, when they start to tack up, you can come back and very easily lay on the lighter color. Doesn't disappear, but they see then you lift your pressure and just kind of drag, and it looks great, like clouds, wispy edges of clouds and stuff, as that is as it's diminishing and running out of your brush here. It's just great. There we go, just like that. Let's build just a bit more, maybe right in here. Another little layer. Don't get rid of all that shadow. I like that shadow. But a little layer of that. Big layers of clouds. And you can whisper some of those up there. Maybe, and if I whisper, I go to my extender, just thin it out, and just whisper a little bit back in there. So it's not completely blue. You got a little bit of the whispery colors back up there. Let's build just a bit more right in here. Right up in there. That's kind of nice. Right there, maybe a little more light. Right up on this one. And it goes right back behind that hill. Right in there like that. That's kind of neat. Okay, so yeah, lots going on. And so you can see in that photo there, lots going on. Let's continue on down. A little bit of yellow. We're going to get a little more grasses, greens, yellows, lights coming down as we come down through here. Yellows, burnt siennas, greens, some whites. As we come down in through here. And put a bit more of the grasses on there. Let's get a bit more yellow. A bit more burnt siennas. Run those right in there. And maybe use my brush too as well. So I love the knife, putting it on and then just running through to get some of that softness that's around there. But I love the knife for the variation that it adds to the painting. I love that. So let's just take some of that up and swirl that up in there. That's pretty good. Now, see, this is, let me show you, and I'll show you here because it's just like all the other video. This is tacky, almost dry right in here. And this is a little bit, I mean, this is wet. I just put that on. And so if it's not moving for me or blending for me, I still have lots of time because, you know, of the heritage. And so I'll just dip my finger right here in a little water and move them together, see? And I can move those together because the water is the solvent, and so it's very sensitive. It's, you know, it's not cured up, so it's very sensitive to what's happening with the solvent right now as well. So, and then we can push some of these grasses this way here. That's kind of neat. Maybe a little bit of the light here in this. Let's get a little more yellow. A little bit of light, and just add some of this, maybe a nice horizontal plane in there like that, a little distance so we keep everything soft. So a little bit of distance here up into that hillside there, just a bit. Play that right there. That would be lovely to have just a whisper of that light color showing up in here. Just a bit of it. Every once in a while, you know. Just not a tremendous amount. Just a little bit showing up in there. All right, and you can add more trees, burnt sienna, blues, a little bit of green. You can add more little tree lines here. Blur through, pull. Just give the impressions of them. Sometimes just a smeary little mark is all you need to give the impression of them. There. There we go. Yeah. And continue on down here. Let's go back to a little bit larger brush. Some of these, we'll just take some extender and some of these colors, because we'll paint more of the foreground here after we get our hawk on. So we'll just start to block this in. Let's just get some colors blocked in so we can work on the hawk here. And just grab some highs and lows. That's what I look for. Highs and lows of the color. And of course, as we come forward here, we'll get a lot of, let's just soften through that. Movement, movement, movement. There we go. And so it's really kind of fun. You can put it on the brush. You can, get some, normally what I'll do, and I'll do this towards the end of the painting quite a bit, you'll see that, is that I'll grab some of my yellows, my burnt siennas, a little bit of green, a little bit of white, and I just come in with some monstrously thick paint right up in here, which is what I want to do, which is going to help me create the feeling of grasses and stuff in here. And see, I want all of this mottled color. That's where you're going to get your interest. You don't want solid color, you want mottled color. And that's what's going to give you all this lovely interest here. So we'll just apply a little bit right now, just to say we did it here. Block it all in. This will help us with our hawk here to see just how much we have to do here to the hawk. Grab some of this yellow. Nice prairie grass. They love the open grasslands. This type of hawk does. That's why we see a lot of them around here. They like that. Let's just pull through. I love my paper towel. And it just gets rid of some of the white. It helps us, just get rid of the white. See some of the painting. Don't get so much that you lose your hawk. But take his leg down there a bit. And again, if you get too much, remember, and you got to back it out. What's your solvent? Water, right? Your solvent's water. So we'll just push in a little bit. There we go. Just get rid of that light of that canvas board, or this board, the canvas prep medium. Get rid of the light of it, bringing that down. We'll do the same over here. Get some of this nice thick paint. Maybe a little bit more light back here. And work those together. Here. Softer back here. You get more atmospheric feeling back here, but then it's going to get nice and chunky up here. So more yellow, and obviously I'm going to need a few more colors out. Big painting. It's been a while since I've done a larger one like this, so it takes a lot of paint. It takes more paint. This is why we put it out in 4 and 8 ounces. But boy, you do a painting like this, I tell you, it's just magical. You get a big painting like this, and I'm working on, I'm going to be doing, I haven't decided, I've got it all prepped. I haven't decided if I'm going to film it with you guys or whether you would really enjoy it or not. But Leicester did, back in the middle part of the 8th century, he did one of the most powerful paintings of the elk, and he's called Monarch of the Glen. It's one of very, very famous one. And it is like 5 feet by 5 feet. It's a big one. And I have in the gallery upstairs here, I have space for it. So, that's where you're in this point of your life, you can buy yourself an art gallery. But I have space for it, guys. And so I wrote my daughter and I said, I want to paint this. And she said, of course. Of course, my wife said, of course. And so it would be magnificent to do that, to work something like that with you guys, to see that. I don't know. I have never filmed one that big. I've painted that big. One of the largest ones I ever painted was almost the size of a sheet of plywood. It's 4 by 8. But that'll be a pretty big one, Monarch of the Glen. Now you can take a wet brush and see, you can pull through and make sure you soften out, especially around the hock here. Make sure you soften out any of that so you don't get texture in him that makes it hard for you to paint up against him. You don't want to get textures that will be more difficult to paint. But now you can see basically the hawk here. We'll do lots of grasses and lots of stuff here. And I do like that back of that and some of those gray clouds. I would probably, and see, once that starts to tack up, see here, let me show you. You can start having more fun. Let's take a little yellow. I mean, you could use the brush like I showed you, right? But I also like to use the knife and open medium. Add about an equal amount of open medium to this, right? And you come back up here and you slide this, wipe your knife so it's nice, and then you push hard with your knife. And you can slide back and forth and wiggle to blend. But this is what's really nice about it. See all these highs and lows you get right there, guys? That's what makes it really pretty, like clouds. You get all of those highs and lows there. And that's just really pretty. And I love to do that. And you just slide over it. Now, if you want to do what I call burnish it, you can take a little bit, you can use your brush, but you can take a little bit of extender and use the extender in there, because that'll thin out the edge and thin it out so that it doesn't have as much impact to it. So you can start to thin this out a little bit. It's all about the consistencies. And you can thin some of that out, you see, and just push to get some highs and lows there into the clouds, just like that. So you get all of this movement, and that will, and then you can soften it slightly, push slightly like this to give it a little bit of wind-blown movement like that. See, a little bit of movement down, little wind-blown movement here, down. Yeah, I like that. I think we'll leave that. That's pretty good. I don't want to lose all, in a lot of the beautiful clouds, they'll have dark ones that'll go right up in front of them as well. And so that is a little bit too green right there, but it's nice to take some of the colors that you find in your composition and put them up into your clouds. Those work really nice. A little bit here, especially up into those shadows there, and pull down through them to give, see, so you get just that little bit of greenish in there. That's really kind of nice. Let's just do a little bit of that. And see, so that's really a little too stiff right there. And I don't worry about it, because what's ultimately that I have? I have my solvent, right? Now I can take extender on that, but let me show you if I had my bottle. Yes, I do. Go, so make sure it's going to mist. Just mist it. Boom, boom. I show you this in the vase, and I'll just push now. See? And that just softens right in there like that. See? There we go. See, just like that. See, that's beautiful clouds. See? So, and because we're all what? We're all within an hour. And the acrylics will do this for a couple of hours. So you have lots of time. So let's take a bit of that. Just add a bit and add a bit, right? Then we'll take our mister bottle, just mist that, and then just push them together. And they'll blend in. The solvent will work it and blend it in. See? And now you can get those beautiful prairie colors up into your clouds there as well. See? And it adds a lot. Keeps them from just being gray and then this. It's taking the harmony of those colors up a little higher. Let's put some right up in there. Some of you are going, will you stop doing that? Yeah, it's fine. Some of you write me and I just laugh. You go, you know, you're going on and then you put another mark on it and I say you just ruin it and then you touch it and it gets better. You know, you got to try things, guys. So I just missed it, see, and then I'll push, and now that color. Now see, it doesn't. You know, because the color moving with the shadow. See, look at that beautiful color now. See. Let's just move that through this one a bit. See? And that color, and I don't want to get too spotty. I want to take some of that. Let's just be a little bit more. We'll take the brush and let's just push some of that in there. Don't worry. Don't worry, I am a professional. We'll mist this, okay? And let's just push that in. I want that color in there. Right up back behind him. He's going to have some of that color. And see, I can come back and restate those lights up in there as well. You know, but you can see areas that maybe you want some. And then after a while, you get some of that. Maybe I want that right up in there. Now, again, if you're at all sensitive to anything, don't use your fingers like I am. Use a brush. You can do this all with a brush, really easy as well, right? Use a brush. And let's just put a little bit there, a little bit here and there, and push that around. Push that up into those clouds. Right in there. That's just real pretty. See, it just takes all of those edges. And see, what I really like about some of the Western painters and Bill Anton and stuff is that he will come back and really accentuate some of his, like his mountain shapes here. So maybe push in a little more light right back here. And yeah, it may not be right in your center of interest, but it does do a little bit more depth right there, see? And then we'll just add some smaller movements there. But that bit of that light right back there, see? In that cloud, that just pulls that out a little bit more here. Right in there like that. You know, and he's just master at it. Maybe we would push some of that right up in here next to this edge. Right here. And just walk that up a bit to soften that. There we go. Just like that. See, that's real pretty. Let's build back. We'll bring back just a bit more of an edge right here. See, I can paint right into that wet now as well. And just add some of the soft movements of that cloud. It's pretty, it's fun, you know, and so if anything starts to get a little too stiff and you can't work it, use your Mr. Bottle, and it works. And because we're all within, you know, you have a couple hours, and so to work it and stuff. And if, you know, there's good acrylic things, like if you really want this, you know, to stay wet, you can keep feeding it every time you touch the colors. You feed them a little bit of extender, and they'll stay wet. But you know, they you can just come back and mist them too, and use the acrylic properties and water properties that way as well. So there you go. That looks pretty good. Let's push right up. Let's see how he's going to go here. So now let me just, I don't want to lose all of this because this is just good toned color. So I'm just going to scrape this up to the side. But I do want to have a kind of clean area so I don't gray out, because this is a lot of blue here, and I'm going to go into some burnt sienna. So I'll just take a damp paper towel here and just wipe through here. Grab a little bit of water, wipe through, take off some of that blue that was right there. Okay, and now let's take some burnt sienna. Burnt sienna, maybe just a touch of the blue. That helps darken that a bit. Let's just come in here and find his line. There's just a little bit of edge of texture right there. So I'll take a paper towel and a little bit of water here just to soften out and take out some of that drawing right there. I want to leave some of that as well, but let's just dark. This will pop him off of the sky, and he's going to have all of this wonderful interest into his head. But now you'll see just how much he'll pop off the sky, and it makes, and I see on the monitor, I have a big monitor right here which shows what you guys are looking at, and I want to find that spot that I see right there. It doesn't look bad in real life, but on the monitor that looks like a spot. So I'll just soften that just a bit. It's a drop of paint on my screen. Yeah, it's a drop of paint on my screen. So, isn't that silly? Okay, it's perfect. Okay, here we go. You gotta laugh at yourself, guys. Okay, so we'll just pull down. That's funny. Maybe a little bit of extender into it. This is going to see just how much he's going to pop. Now he's, you know, this type of hawk has a lot of light and dark into it. So, and we're going to have a lot of light and dark into it. But I really want to, even if I have to, I'll go up there and look at him. Even if I have to, I really want to get some of those, you know, fudge even the darks just a bit. Let's bring this in. His eye's going to be in there. I want to push this edge a bit so that it gets a bit more receding. So his head's going to come down, and we're going to use some lights and some whites because he has a lot of whites in him as well. But you can see that will help. And nice little dark spots that are really going to help him. Let's get a little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of blue up here onto the top part of his wing right in here. Nice dark here. And see these little touches, they don't have to be a lot, but these little touches of the dark are really going to bring him forward. Really bring him forward here. There we go. So see, now look at how much he's going to advance in front of all of that we did there. And by the time we do these grasses and stuff here, man, it's going to look like we know what we're doing here, guys. So let's see. This, I think I should have taken this hill down a little bit more. So let's just do that. A little bit of thin color here. Just model that in there. See, it just looks like hill. You start pushing all of that stuff in there. And yeah, now a little bit of extender, a little bit of our burnt sienna and stuff. This will just help us find our line. And so what I'm doing is kind of just using this, and I want to lose the edge of him back here. See this? I just drag through and just lose that edge bit. That makes it softer and brings this into more of a found edge where I really want him to come forward here. So I'm just kind of finding my edges here. But I love painting, guys, lost and found edges. And those of you who haven't studied that yet, those are so important. One of the most important things, not only getting the color, but getting your edges. And you'll hear a lot of the masters all the time talk about edges, and it's so very true. We're edge painters. Let's get a little bit of burnt sienna and blue, a little bit of red. This helps change up the grays. We're going to make multiple grays. And I want to let's get just a touch more blue. I'm just going to come through and find a few of my darks, a few areas of darks and shadows. This we want to get, as this is going to be a cast shadow from his beak and stuff here, because the light is slightly to the top of his head. So we'll find that cast shadow. Let's take a little bit of extender here, lighten this up. This will be about a value 6 or so right here. Okay, let's find some of this. This is the light underside of his tail, and I'll have to redraw some of that here, but that'll be there, and you can see it's almost the value of what we have there in the grasses here. Nice paint, good paint. Get some paint on there, right? Let's just streak that up with a little bit of burnt sienna and some blue, just so it's not just a solid color. When I paint the hawks, like you've seen me paint all kinds of different hawks, and I love to paint the hawks out here. We have so many varieties of the hawks. Back in Pennsylvania, we had the red tails. And I had red tails that were nested in our trees and stuff, and I loved them. But out here we have, because of the prairie, we have so many types of hawks here, and I just love them. Let's put a little bit of light here, a little bit lighter. Some of that right down onto his leg. This is his body right there. Just helping find some of the shadows and making sure that we get a good touch to these shadows. Let's get some blue and burnt sienna. Sometimes I'll add a little red, violet, and green just to change it up. Look at that deep, nice dark right there. But I want this to be kind of atmospheric. I almost touched that down, so I'm going to add just a touch of this gray. I want this a little bit atmospheric, so not quite as full strength dark. And so sometimes I'll just take it and push it like this, because I want that to be dark, because that's the back part of that other wing there. And so it's this little tip here. But I don't want it to be coming out too much, so I want to fracture it. This is what I call fracturing. And you can see I take some of it off. And this is why I like the matte qualities of the canvas prep medium. It puts on a matte, and it keeps the paints matte. Our paints are a matte, and it keeps the paints matte so that you can do those wipeout techniques, which are so very important. They're really important. Now, let's take a bit of the lighter gray here. Oh, and let's just push in that heavier light ridge over his eye. So we know we're going to do that. A little bit of light into that right there. We're going to do lots of lights and darks on him, but boy, it's really nice to see him. Let's get some of this gray. Let's add a bit of extender so it's thinner. So we don't need to be, super great here. Let's just put this on, because this is the first look And I follow, even with this is my little number 8, or an 8 or a 10. Always paint with as large a brush as you feel you can use. And I'm just gonna push some color into there. We're gonna do it multiple times, okay? Multiple times, so, you know, we especially build up his breast area here. Let's put just a bit of blue in that. Don't want it too warm. Remember, you're heading into a shadow, so sometimes even a little violet. Even though you don't see violet too much on him, it's nice to have a little bit of violet here. Let's just put the round in. But see, I want this. See this, and I'm, you know, using light pressure on my brush, and you know, and if we were doing highlights and stuff, we would call it almost like scumbling it on. But it's a thin wash, and it's gonna keep that shadow in there, but it gives me the sense of movement. And when I'm looking for the sense of movement, what I'm looking for is the contour of his body, finding it down. So I see this coming down here, but see right in here, those of you that have the photo, right in here, we're gonna see it pull down, which forms the bottom part and starts to head into his legs. So we're gonna see this movement here. So as you know, don't just base him in, because this type of basing in like this, following the contours, you see me talk to you about this with bird paintings and stuff all the time, and deer paintings and elk paintings and the antelope, they're always following the contours, and that's why it's always good to try all kinds of paintings, to learn the contours of them. Let's put a little bit of that violet up in here. It's going to come this way, and then his body's going to come down this way. So we go this way and this way, just like that. So you can start to see his contours a little bit here. But we have this coming this way, so we want to build his neck, and then we want his neck to come down like this to blend into his body this way. So it's going to come down this way, almost like a fan. Okay? Yeah. Almost like a fan, down this way. Down like that. Yeah. And I'm going to put so much work up into him, but I want to get some of this blocked in. So let's get a bit of burnt sienna, some yellow, burnt sienna yellow, maybe a touch of red and diarylide here. It gives him a little bit brighter look to his wing. A little diarylide. And let's just, now see here, you're going to see the contours. Boy, that's a pretty color on him. And I'll leave some of the streakiness to it. Add a little extender, so it's not, but it's still pretty thick. But you're going to, diarylide is a semi-transparent, so it's, when you start adding it, your colors go more transparent. So, but we'll pull down and start to get that color on his wing, and it's darker down through here, so we'll head this way. And see, so this is just like a block painting, but we're not painting the feathers yet. We're just setting the foundational colors that we're going to see in each area on him. That's what we're doing. So let's just see a little bit of this color, maybe a little bit of shadow into it, so it's a little cooler, a little lighter right in there. A little bit of that goes up in here. See, that's what's going to make him pretty, all these different colors, you know. And we'll have some marks of this coming across this way. And so we'll just hit marks, just quick little stabs of the brush, and hit some of those color marks. And there'll be areas of lighter gray. We don't want to go white, but there'll be other areas of lighter colors. So we're going to paint him like this, little marks, lights and darks, but you'll see him starting to jump off just a bit. Let me just show you. So like right through here. So light's coming in right up through here. So light's going to kind of hit right up in here. So we'll build this and see, but I'm going to do this several times. Let's build up his chest here just a bit because I want to. So it's not pure white. And I'll build and step down and do some more marks. See, I step and move, step and pull the contour. I'm not painting the feathers yet. I'm modeling the surface to paint his contour, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of thinking and following his contour. So this is going to come down and curve down. Right, right, right. A little bit. Right in there. Yeah, and we'll paint some of these lights up in here. He's going to get a lot of light around him here. That works. But we'll get some of this color coming down here. Smaller little bits. We have, you know, a lot of striping that he gets. So we'll be doing some of that as well. A little mark of light, but we have lights and darks, and he's going to be so much fun to paint as we add all of these marks in here. He's going to be so much fun to paint. So see, you can just take this and this is why I love the super soft fusion brushes, because I just put in just a little bit of pressure, and I can impart the color, but it drags out, which is what I want, as I'm going to build some of these other colors into him. But yeah, let's get a bit of this. Boy, that wind, I don't know if you can hear that, but that wind is something else. Okay, so boom. There we go. A little bit of that into his head. Lots more to do, but that's getting me a look at him. And see, and you know what's really nice, see, I push this. You can see if you don't push too many times, you won't blend it, but you do what we call incorporate the color. See how I pull, and it's not blending, they kind of smear together. I call that incorporating the colors together. And then they, if you push too much, they start to blend. But we don't want to blend. We want to just push them down. There we go. Now, so I got some of that in there, and we can get a really nice burnt sienna blue, a little bit of white. Let's use some extender here. Just an idea of the grayish tone. And here for the branch that he is standing on. Okay. We'll get, and of course I didn't put any of the grasses down below him. So I'll have to do that as well. Here, but just an idea of this branch here. I'll just come through some of that drawing there. There we go. And so we'll have to take some of the burnt sienna yellow, burnt sienna and blue, and get some of those additional grasses, dark colors down here. Maybe just a little water help thin that out. Do that real thick there real quick. Get some of that in there. He has some streaks, little extender, just some feathers pulling down here, which will paint perfect and beautiful. You have a lot of painting. I imagine, let's see, what are we? 1 hour and 20 minutes. I imagine we're about a third of the way through the painting, if that, because I'm going to give a lot of detail. So I'm thinking, You know, I know you guys, you know, like the long videos. Some of you do, some of you don't. And so I'll probably just break this up into 2 videos maybe. Don't kill me. I'll break it up into 2 videos so that because some people don't have that much time. And sometimes if you're painting the bird and you're at a certain thing, it's hard to search through the whole video. Even though I try, I'm starting to put chapters in it. Trying to make it easier. But it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to dedicate it away from all my other painting to run the channel. But I really do like it because you guys just write such lovely comments. You're really good for my ego. I love to take a morning coffee, sit down and read all the comments on the channel every morning. I do that. Maybe a little bit of bushes or something there, just like that. That's kind of neat. Yeah, well, oh, there's that line of trees that are over here. Let's just put in a few marks so that we'll know to do that as well right there. And yeah, just get some of this other little marks, we'll get some rolling hills, some trees, some bushes, some stuff going on. And see, I'm using some of the hawk colors to put some of that stuff in so that they travel. See, they travel. And it works. It all works. Okay. So let's go in, and I've been wanting to do this now for the last 30 minutes. I've been wanting to work a little bit. I've got 30 minutes of film left on that one camera. And so I'm going to use that to kind of block in some of his eye. Now, he's got that real grayish kind of color to his eye. So grayish color, beautiful blue, burnt sienna, or even this red. And some white. And let's first, and I'm using a little number 2 filbert, Fusion Filbert. I love this little brush for painting on them. It's a little number 2 Fusion Filbert. And I just love this. And I'll grab my stick, and we'll come in, and I'll start just to tap in the iris of the eye, the color of his eye. Let's put it in here as well. There. And he has a darker pupil, which we're going to go blue and maybe blue and red. Boy, that wind. Blue and red. Let's touch that in. And I'm going to put quite a few colors into his eye and stuff here as well. But I love to start seeing them come together here. So there we go. A little softer on that side. I want a little bit heavier over here, and maybe a little bit more edge detail on the roundness of that one, because that will pull this edge, that will pull this side forward and recede that side over there. So we don't want to get too much detail over there on that one. Now, let's take some of that dark blue and our red. These are almost complements. Maybe a little touch of violet in there. Nice dark. I'm going to use multiple darks, but his beak here comes down really dark right in here. Nice, super sharp point right down like that. And then we're going to go into some grays, and we're going to paint these grays many times. So maybe a softer gray from his eye here. I'm just going to touch into it. And we paint the plane. Slide this like the plane. Just reach up and touch it into that other color and pull it down here, following kind of his contour there. And we'll back off just a bit of that, because we got yellow that's going to come in there as well. Okay, now I'll take, let's get a little bit more mottled white, maybe a little bit of this warmer color, model this up and touch in there again. Just slide it around. Now see, what makes them really pretty is you do that. See, you get this modeling. And even if you have to let it dry, you get this modeling. So don't get it too blended. We'll put a darker underneath here to touch for his underside of his mouth. Here. A little bit here. Okay. But we're going to touch this light. And I like to reach back where it's a little thicker. Maybe the paint starts to get a little too stiff. Now, when you're working with this, and if it blends too much, it's too wet. So get away from it. Let it tack up a bit. I want this. I want to be able to touch and model it. Now, what I want to do is work along that edge with a halftone. So I did this color here, so now I'm going to drop its value down, maybe even come right over here, and just make a medium gray right in here, any of these colors. And I want to touch that right along that edge. Maybe go back, and this is what makes it pretty. You work it a little bit, just touch back, make slightly different movement right back into it, coming back a different way. And back into it again, right in here. And I look to see, and it's this back and forth. Let's get just a touch lighter, maybe a touch of blue, sky almost color. So it's really a change. And push a little bit of that right into there. It's a total different kind of color. And this is what makes the beaks pretty, guys. Let's go back to our red and blue. Here, a nice little dark here. We'll give that nice, clear, extra little touch there. Yeah, and just pull down into that, model into that a bit. Just the tip of the brush, just doing some of that painting. Just the very tip. Now, before we go too far, let's just pinch our brush really well. Pick up some yellow, nice thick yellow oxide, and let's push that up, because he has yellow all along his beak. There. He has that yellow. Let's take some of this gray, beautiful gray color, and it's going to swoop like this is a little valley down in here between his upper ridge of his eye and into his beak. It's like a little valley right there. And a little bit of shadow here. And I just small little marks. Use just the tip. Remember, he's all feathered up. So just the tip of the brush. Let's push one of the most important shadows on him is the upper eye here. And as soon as we finish the eye, one of the most important things is the eye shadow. But the shadow of the upper eye from this ridge that he has, this heavy duty ridge here. And that's going to be very important. Let's pull some of this down. There we go. Let's get a little bit of that shadow here onto his eye here. There, like that. That's going to be good. There. Boy, he's got a lot of this little speckling feathers. lights and darks we're going to do. But we can add a few here just to give the contours and the motion of it. There. That we'll see on him. And he's going to get a lot more yellow. And the yellow is going to go right up here where his beak collides up into his face, and then down, of course, into his legs and his talons. Let's go a little bit of Hansa, maybe a little bit of Diarylide into that. Let's go up a little bit more. Boy, that wind is even worse. Right up in there. And that's going to go down here onto his feet too, which is won't show up enough yet, but just put a little bit there. And it goes right around it, you know, all around the edge of his mouth here. And comes right in there. Don't breathe here. That's pretty good. A little bit down, because you see just a little bit down this side before he foreshortens. And let's get a little more shadow. And I'm working this just a little bit thinner now, as I'm starting to find where these extra little shadows are. Turn his face here just a bit. So I'll work all these colors just a little bit thinner. Let's find the contours of his feathering that's going to be there. So they're going to pull down and then kind of go around the beak here, but these will pull down. So we're going to do multiple layers of lights and darks and stuff here. Let's pull some additional shadow down. And so what I do is I layer this back and forth with the light and shadow, back and forth and back and forth, and build it. And we're going to build and build and build his contours up. And some of it I'm going to do like what you see on the photo I have up there, even though he's changed positions, but he has that nice little dark right up here, which is, I'm going to bring that in and use artistic license here to bring that in to really pop him forward. So, yeah, push that heavier shadow there, right in there like that. Yeah. That's going to be cool. He's going to be great. Let's go with a little bit lighter gray. A little bit lighter. Maybe up around an 8 or a 9. And push in this little light right there. See, and so I push that in, and then I go back to a softer little halftone of gray, and I'll touch that around. Not exactly where I touch some of the other stuff. So see, and that starts to model his beak, which is what I want. And maybe just color in between there, right up at the top up here. Picks up just a bit. I know that's really hard to see, but and we'll bring in his point of his beak. Really dark. So a real dark color is Phthalo Blue, Violet, a little bit of red, sometimes a little bit of green. Real dark color. Real dark color right on the tip of that beak right there. And let's just touch a little bit of that into his eye. We're going to do his eye several times. Let's rinse that color out for just a second. And what I'm going to do is take a wash of some of this. This was the burnt sienna and yellow and stuff. Take a bit of a wash of this into his eye. Again, to change the colors a touch. Then we'll go back with a little bit of the gray and just tap right in. Maybe a touch more of the light. When there's quite a few, I paint quite a few hawks, and and you'll see all kinds of times where I just small down and do little taps of color because it just adds so much to their faces. Now, he has just the tiniest little bit of yellow around his eye here. So I want to push some of that in here. And some of those lighter gray colors, which we're going to pull with the contours here. But to really get him the way I want to get, to paint him, which I really want to paint him nice because he's a big one. This is a big painting of him. So I really want to capture him. I'm going to have to paint like this several times to get the details that I want to get to him. Several times and little taps of light and dark color in there. But we'll get there. We'll get there. There we go. The other side over there, we want to keep it more simplistic because, we don't want to, we don't want to advance it. We want his eye here to recede on this side. So we really want to keep it kind of simplistic over there. But I want to do a lot more onto his beak, just like what I'm doing here. And I'll push that in. A little bit here. So my marks start to get smaller as I work this. And I start to vary the colors a little bit. I always likened it to, oh God, I love that color. Oof. I always liken it to like painting a rock, the broken color of a rock. You look at the colors that are in this guy's beak, the reflections and stuff are just amazing. And I want to be able to really capture that. Let's get a little darker. So sometimes just that burnt sienna and blue, and just grab some of those marks and widen out some of that beak. But you get shines. Does that make sense? So I'll just model in a little bit of the light right on top of that. Sometimes if it blends too much, you just let it dry up a bit. That's why I love the acrylics. I let it dry up a bit, and then it'll work. I really want to get that point, a bit more of that beak, that nice hook in that raptor's beak. There. And yeah. Now let's get that brighter yellow up there. We might have to add a little bit of white to get some nice opacity to it, and then come back with more yellow on top of it here. So yeah. Just drag some of that through. Little touches there. And let's get a little Diarylide Yellow Oxide here. And we'll add just a bit more width to that. There. See, you get those beautiful colors. That little bit of white in there really helped. But I'll, right up here by the crown, tap it in. But see, then it's foreshortened, so some of that yellow has to come down this other side, because you see both sides of his beak there. And then we'll widen out a little bit of burnt yellow oxide, and that we'll widen this out. Let's go ahead and widen this out, so because I just thought about it, so I want to put it in so I don't forget about it. I'll widen just a bit, and then I'll put the darker burnt sienna and a little bit of blue. His nostril line, which will be right in here. I don't want to forget about it, because that's really important on them. Allows them to breathe. There we go. His nostril line right there. And maybe a little bit of that dirty yellow and stuff. Just find a little bit of movement, maybe pulling down this way. See, that yellow just goes right in there with some of those other colors, and it just starts to liven up his face there. Maybe we take just a little mark of that right up in there. And that's what I start to do, is break this up. See, it's a lot of it. Let's put in some light here. Yeah. Little extender. If I want it to thin out a bit, which I do. Just touch in through there. See, it's going to be small marks of color. Small marks of color. Some of these are going to, some of this is going to shift this way as those lines on his face change that way. But small marks of color, little bit above this eye right here. But this is going to be some of the detail. And I'm going to paint all of this with you and the detail with you. I mean, I'm going to, see, we're at 142. Check my numbers so I don't run. I did that here just a couple weeks ago. Ran out of tape on something. I got so much into the filming of it, ran right out of tape. So I'm going to break this into two. So I'm going to come back in and really do a lot of detail work with you guys on here. I don't want to rush it through. You know how I normally will do, and I'll show you little bits of stuff. But some of you really like the long ones, and you really paint along with me. So we have him to a good point where he's blocked in, and we have some of our landscape here the way we want to get it. You know, I might put a white cloud right back there a little bit more. Looking at that monitor and stuff, boy, that would really advance him if I did that. We'll see. Well, we'll see. But right in here, that's really important. That light cloud going against him there really brings him forward. So much to do. Yeah, but I'm going to stop, and it is late in the day, and I got to go get the grandkids. So I'll stop, and I'll pick this back up in the morning. I'm going to let this thoroughly dry. And some of you will say, why you let it dry? You're working into wet. Because actually with acrylics and a lot of things, it's easier when it gets a little bit drier. It really is. So I'll let this dry. I'll bring out another video. I'll film that tomorrow. So it'll be another day. It'll be a day coming into this after this. But we'll paint a lot of beautiful detail in here. I'll show you how to work the colors, the layering of the colors into the feathers. We're not going to do that wet on wet. We're going to do this with halftones. Okay, so and use a pure acrylic technique, and it's a beautiful, beautiful technique. And then we'll finish up the grasses and stuff like that. So we'll do another video on that. All right. Okay. Hope you enjoyed that, setting that in and seeing some of that different stuff. And I will probably mist my colors here and just set a piece of saran wrap over them. And then I'll come back in the morning and film the next segment of this, and we'll continue on, okay? So we'll do this. And I'm also, don't forget, over on the Paint It Simply channel, I'm doing a lot of those beginning ones. So I just did this vase and blossoms and showed you how to paint it with pure acrylic. No mediums, no extenders, no open mediums, nothing. Just pure acrylics using your using water as the solvent. I'm going to do the same thing with a small little landscape here in another day or two. And that little landscape will have some rocks in it, a little water. And we're going to paint it pure acrylic. And I'm going to show you how to work those acrylics, work those edges and stuff. And I had some good questions about what do you do? How do you re-moisten and stuff the surface? You know, if you come back and it's dry, how do you work back into that again? I'm going to show you how to do some of that stuff, okay? So that'll be over onto the Paint It Simply channel. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, and make sure you go over and subscribe to that one too. It's great to have some of those refreshers for all you advanced artists and you know, all you beginners, to have some of those basics down where you can see how to do some of that stuff, okay? All right, so I'll see you guys in the morning. We'll do the next one here. We'll hopefully that wind will calm down, and we'll continue on and paint this beautiful hawk, okay? All right, I'll see you on part number 2.